What is going on, everybody? Welcome to Movie Talks, the only podcast you need for all your movie news, movie reviews, and more. So we've got exciting things for you. We've got 37 episodes now after this recording for your viewing and listening pleasure. So there's many things that you can listen to us on. We're obviously on YouTube and Spotify. If you're listening to this, you probably know that, but just tell your friends. We thought I'd mix it up a little bit because I'm on a roll. So
Yep.
Yep, we've got many things coming. So they have a jam-packed episode for you. We've got The Diplomat, which is the show on Netflix that took over Beef's number one spot in the top 10. It's we'll give you our review later. Kings of Collectibles, a brand new one out on Netflix. That is a auction house site that is kind of like Pawn Stars, but not the Pawn Stars as in like the pawn shop, not the adult entertainer actors.
AWNORN. Yep.
Yeah. It's a little bit of a clickbait, so porn, depending on which one you like. And then I'm going to butcher this name because I always do. We've got Tengoku-Daimakyou, which translate into English, which probably is not the same as the way I said it. Heavenly Delusion, which is a anime on Disney Plus. Otherwise, it's on Stars everywhere else. I'm not sure if it is different for the rest of the world, but here in Australia, we have Stars joined in with Disney Plus, so that's very exciting for us. But yeah,
I have
very
no
very
idea.
exciting.
Yeah. I
Just
don't know how it works in America. Do they have stars there? They must.
I think so. I don't know, unless Disney own it and run a separate one. Who knows? Disney do what they want, so that's kind of
right. They totally can.
Yeah, but there's some big news items on the old brand new movie news, so I'm a bit excited.
Okay.
Big movie news.
Big
Yeah,
movie news.
big movie
Ooh,
news.
exciting.
Yeah, so you know how your favorite game genre is battle royales?
Totally. Yeah. Can't get
Yep,
enough.
yep, yep. If you have
Mm-hmm.
nice little segue into we are live on Twitch every Tuesday and Thursday, and we do play Fortnite. But it's not
Yep.
about Fortnite. It is about Hunger Games. There is the Ballad of the Songbirds and Snakes trailer has just been released, which is the prequels to the Hunger Games. Did you ever get into the Hunger Games?
Yeah, I'm a big fan. I watched the trailer for this. Looks cool.
Okay. So I wasn't sure if they'd go
I
prequel
thought you were
or
talking
if
about. Sorry, I thought you were going to talk about a Hunger Games game,
no,
not battle royales.
nah, just bait and switch you. You didn't know what was coming.
Never.
Yeah.
Yeah, this looks cool. It's got a pretty interesting cast.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I'm a fan.
It's
It
Lionsgate.
looks.
Lionsgate are always a bit hit and miss depending on
Mhm.
who they get and who's doing things, but it could be good, could be average. I'm assuming with the success of the Hunger Games, they're not going to butcher just a random throwaway prequel. I feel like
No, no, this will be pretty fucking spectacular.
that's what I'm assuming.
Got
So
Peter Dinklage, which is always a seat filler.
yeah,
People love
yeah,
him.
yeah. Hopefully he's a narrator or a mentor or something. It's going to have
Hmm
a major role. So you
Burn
wouldn't.
Gorman's in it. He's like, sorry, such a scary man.
Okay.
Um,
Why is he scary?
he says a look. He's been in most things. He's been like a bad guy, or like
Mm,
an enforcer or an intimidator. Um, trying to think what things we know him from. He's been in Game of Thrones, but
okay.
not as like a big character.
Gotcha.
Um, yeah, he looks cool. I
Okay.
was I'm a big fan of the first Hunger Games. I've watched them many times. I even have taught the first Hunger Games in year 8 English.
Okay.
It's good. I'm sick of movies having massive titles. I feel like at the moment it's like it's a trendy thing to have these big long names, like full
Ah,
sentences.
well, yeah. Well, this one you got to put the Hunger Games in front so people know it's tied to it.
Of course.
So
But the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes is a lot.
this is true. But was there a prequel book? Do you know? Like, was it
No
a
idea.
pre-existing source material, or was it just they were like,
Yeah, I don't know.
who knows? I'm sure you can put that in the comments and let us know. So you wouldn't avoid this one?
No, I'm actually excited for this.
Okay. So, well, you
Yeah.
can duck, dodge, and dive into the Dodgeball sequel is apparently in the works.
Really?
See that segue? That was good.
It's one of your better ones.
That was clean segue, I thought. I was trying to like provoke you into it as well.
That wasn't bad.
I was waiting.
Yeah, right. New dodgeball with Ben
Yep.
Stiller still.
Oh, he's on the thumbnail, but I don't know. It's the Ben Stiller's dodgeball quote that lives forever. According to Deadline, still in the works with Vince Vaughn returning as Pete and Jordan, the original guy, is doing the script as well. I don't know if Ben Stiller is actually in it or not. I'm sure. Sure, they just
If Vince Vaughn's in it, I'd be surprised if he wasn't. To be honest, yeah,
yeah.
because
So,
there was that dodgeball Thunderdome
was that
a
a
couple
part
of
of
years
it?
ago.
I thought
I
that
don't
was
know.
I thought that was just
Or
a
was
random dodgeball
was that a
movie.
reality show? Right. Oh, yeah, it's a reality show. I'm looking at it now.
Yeah.
I thought that was like a spin-off or some shit.
No,
Okay.
it's a different one.
Yeah, look, as long as they have all the original cast and they make it just as silly and dumb, then sure. But I didn't even watch Zoolander 2. You know, I'm a big fan of the first Zoolander.
No, really. That was hard to watch at times.
It's definitely a timepiece. It doesn't age well, but I loved it growing up, so I still get a lot out of it.
Same with like Don't Mess with the Zoolander.
Zohan.
Zohan, that's the one.
Yeah.
Same.
Don't mess with the Zoolander.
Yeah, that's what I heard. That's how much I remember of it. But
Yeah.
do you remember the Freaky movie, which was Vince Vaughn again? So Vince Vaughn was a killer and swapped with a cheerleader's body. Did you ever
Oh,
watch
right.
that? Yeah.
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 That was
So
Christopher Landon, who we talked about a couple weeks ago as well.
yep. So Freaky's writer has a neck slasher mashup, and it's a wonderful knife. So it sounds pretty wacky. I don't know that much details about it, as it's only just been announced.
Look,
But
after We Have a Ghost, which is the same guy, I'm not watching anything by this guy ever again. That was the worst piece of cinema I've ever seen.
no, I'll give him a chance. I'll watch
No,
the next one.
no, he's lost
No.
any chance he had.
Freaky was good. I didn't mind it.
Yeah, I've heard good things,
Yeah.
but if you're capable of making We Have a Ghost, then you obviously don't know what you're doing.
Well, look at Jordan Peele. Did Get Out, absolutely incredible, and then Nope, terrible.
You're the only one who thinks that.
Nope, many people think that.
Have you looked up reviews and stuff of Nope? Do many people agree with you?
Yeah, many. They
Okay.
just got reviewed bombed, mate. It was all like
Sure.
you just writing
Sure, mate.
reviews for Nope. Just like, oh my god, it's so amazing. So
Yep.
much art house, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. I just love it, all the symbolism. But anyway, the brand new, this is not really movie news, but it kind of is because there are Star Wars films. So there is a new Star Wars game out, which is Jedi Survive, which has Carl returning 5 years after the events. But there is a trailer promotion. I'm about to sneeze. I'll see if I can get it all out. Mark Hamill trains Cameron, who's Carl, in a Star Wars Jedi Survive promo. It was actually pretty funny. So like Carl's upside down doing crunches and training to be a Jedi, while Mark Hamill's like,
actually, yeah, I did see that on Facebook.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I liked it. I guess
it's cute,
slightly linked, but not really. But doesn't matter. I wanted to talk about it. Also, I
didn't see it as canon. Are you gonna play that on stream?
I've already done a let's play, just the
Oh, you have?
first 30 minutes out already. So that came out this morning. Get excited.
Okay. Yeah.
Ant-Man and the Wasp, the Quantumania, is coming to Disney Plus in May, so it's still currently running in theaters and it's just finishing its run, so it'll be out. So you can catch up on all your Marvel goodness, which Ant-Man's the worst.
Excited.
Ant-Man's the worst hero. I hate it. Anyway, not the point.
See the difference.
I don't like Ant-Man.
Yeah, but I don't see the difference between him and every other superhero.
Because other superheroes are cool. Ant-Man sucks.
Solid argument.
Yep. Transformers Rise of the Beast trailer actually looks really cool. saw it when we saw the Mario movie, and I
Okay.
was pretty excited to see the animal Transformers or the Beast.
Yeah, but Beast Wars.
Yeah, it looks
Hmm.
cool. So there's Optimus Prime and the gorilla, whatever he was called, which originally was Optimus Prime in the Beast.
Yeah.
Which I don't know how they're going to do it unless it's alternative timelines mashing in together, or he's just his own
Or they'll just
standalone.
say it's a different prime or whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't know. It's
yeah.
I've lost all interest in them,
Okay,
if I'm honest. There's so many now and I don't there's such nothing movies. But Beast Wars is sick. This could be decent.
could be.
I doubt
Um,
it.
mm.
Pardon me.
The New Zealand director, what's his name? I always butcher it. The one that did the
Michael
Thor
Waititi.
movies. Yeah, he's got
Hmm.
Next Goal Wins trailer, so he's got a new soccer comedy coming out.
Cool.
It looks kind of interesting. I'm glad he's kind
Yeah,
of stepping away from the Marvel scene and doing something
I
else.
agree. I think he's better when he like his best movies are ones that he has passion for, like what we do in the shadows and Jojo Rabbit and Hunt for Wilder People and stuff. I don't
Yeah,
think as much as I actually probably preferred the Thor movie over the other. I mean, I've watched a lot of them obviously, but I actually didn't mind Ragnarok. I think he had a lot to do with that, but I prefer him to do his own little passion projects for sure.
yeah. Well, it's Ragnarok's much better than Thor 2. Thor 2 is probably the worst thing I've seen in a very long time.
Yeah, fair.
But yeah, it is what it is. There is Steven Spielberg has shared his reaction after seeing Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. I haven't watched it. It's just he looks happy in the thumbnail. So
Good on him.
yeah. The Flash, the new trailer, has time travel, heroics, and a lot of Batman. I am surprised that they kept old mate in there. So the actor who originally I thought was getting cancelled because he was up for a lot of like random charges and just disappeared off the planet Earth. Did you
Who are you
ever
talking
see that?
about?
The guy that was playing the Flash
Oh yeah,
in
all
the
that
movie.
stuff. I didn't know much about it because I don't care, but I did hear. I think you told me a couple of things.
Yeah, so you're gonna see an older Batman, which is kind of cool. No,
Sure.
okay.
I don't care. You know me.
Yeah. I feel like you will care about this one. It's the last piece that we're going out on. Arnold Schwarzenegger is going to jail again.
Oh,
Mm,
okay. Because
because he's doing a new breakout movie. So there was
oh,
got ya clickbait.
you got me.
Yeah. Arnold Schwarzenegger had a film with Sylvester Stallone about how they had to break out of jail. So Sylvester Stallone was this like high IQ bloke that was breaking in and out of jails, and then there was this new jail that was unbreakable, but he ended up breaking out with the help of Arnold Schwarzenegger. But Arnold Schwarzenegger is starring in his own film this time, which it will see him going to jail, which this reminds me a lot of Prison Break. So this is Arnold will play Terry Reynolds, whose stepson Daniel is framed and sentenced to 25 years in a foreign country. Reynolds makes a daring jailbreak to save him, must overcome overzealous prison warden in a race against time to avoid capture and flee the country. If Arnie's in it, we're watching it. Doesn't matter.
Yeah,
He could be standing there on the screen just talking, and I'd watch it.
just talking and flexing, and you'd be like, "Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm in."
yeah. So
Yeah. Okay. I
yeah.
don't know. Like, I feel like I'm repeating myself every single stream. Everything sounds the same.
Ah,
I don't
you
know
make
what
a
that
movie
does.
then.
No, I'm not a filmmaker.
It could be.
I could be,
It could
but
be.
I didn't go and study film. I did, but I didn't study filmmaking. These people did.
Yeah. Some did, some didn't. Some just have worked their way up from the bottom and now
Who
they're
knows?
making their own. But anyway, we're going from jails to political interests, which is a nice little segue as well. So let's move on to the Diplomat. Oh, we have fun here. So this is Netflix's newest series, and it's only on Netflix. In the midst of an international crisis, Kate Weiler, a career diplomat, lands in a high-profile job for which she is not suited, with technic implications of her marriage and her political future. I don't even know what that word is. I've never seen
Hold
it in
on,
my
I need to
life.
read it.
Have you seen it? I feel like you
Oh,
need to.
tectonic implications.
Yeah, what is tectonic? Who uses that in a sentence?
Yeah, that's a
Probably
bit much.
like tectonic plates. That's probably the only time I've ever used it.
Yeah, I mean that's where I know it. But like, according to Google, relating to structure the Earth's crust. Yep. Relating to building or construction.
What?
What?
The building of her what? Tectonic implications of her marriage and political future.
I
Who
guess
wrote
like all the
this?
foundations that she's built, and like, yeah, it's a weird word.
That is some
I'm sure
wanker that wrote that.
people smarter than us, they'd be like, "Oh, yeah, it's a perfect word, tectonic. Oh, that's like poetry." But to
I
us,
feel
it
like
just,
I feel like this is definitely a show for them as well, because that's how I felt the entire way through this.
yeah, no, that's very fair.
So we only watched 2 episodes because I, for some reason, chose it just due to the fact that it knocked off Beef, and I was like, "Ooh,
Hmm.
what knocked off Beef?" And
Hmm.
not making the connection between the title and what the show would actually be about.
No, we were on the phone, and you were like, "Oh, I'm trying to watch The Diplomat, but I didn't realize it was going to be about politics and da da da." I'm like, "It's called The Diplomat," and you're surprised it's about diplomatic relations.
Yeah, yeah.
Gosh.
So I don't like politics at the best of times,
Hmm.
and yeah, this was hard to sit through. So it
Yeah.
revolves around a shipping or a ship that gets attacked. So it
Yeah.
explodes, and then all of a sudden, it is all the kind of the behind the scenes of what has to happen during a political crisis that is
Hmm.
happening. So it is the
Not just a ship.
Americans.
It's a really quick. Sorry. It's a like it's a warship, like
Yeah,
a navy warship.
yeah. I mean, it could have been any ship, really. They didn't really focus on it.
Yeah.
I would have rather them give us more time seeing a bit of the day-to-day life in the ship, get to know those characters, and then it explodes, and then see the behind the scenes.
I
Because
don't think
I
it
didn't really.
matters. It's more about the ship's implications on a grand scale. It's not like about the individuals on the ship who have died,
No, but
as sad as that is.
I feel like that would have had more of a weighing or more weight for the scene in episode 2, which was pretty much the only real exciting thing about this show. But that's not what we're here
Mm.
for. We're here for Kate, who is played by Kerry Russell, and she is thrown into this role. And I was confused about exactly what the role is because I don't know. I don't keep up with politics. You might be able to shed some light on it. But she's thrown into this role where she has to go to England and is the diplomat and the correspondence for the USA in in England. And
Yeah.
they're obviously she's coming in. She's been promoted. No one really knows who she is, but her husband, for some reason, is a really high profile or has a reputation, which I was confused about what his reputation was. And it turns out that he's been kidnapped before, and there's a whole kidnapping scene with him,
Yeah.
which was I was so confused about what exactly was happening. Like they're not giving you enough information at the start of who all the characters are, but I'm sure it will probably unfold as the show goes on. Or if
Yeah. I think he's meant to be like a diplomat as well. Like he used to be the diplomat for I forget which 2 countries, but he was meant to be because he has been in this position before, the position she's currently in. He's been there before supposedly and has experience, and he's struggling to adjust to not being that one. Um, the fact that his wife is now the diplomat is obviously causing him not so much turmoil, like he's supportive, but you can see he's pulling his own strings in the background and still trying to get what he wants and still trying to make moves, even though he's now got no titles.
Right, yeah. So the show is revolving around Kate trying to navigate her way through being promoted into the diplomatic role and having to
Mhm.
work her way through all that. Then you have her private life, which they're getting divorced, but they're also seem like they're trying to connect at the same time. Like it's very confusing that they're still, I don't know, relying on one another
Mhm.
with what's going on, but they're also getting divorced. Like I was very confused about their dynamic in terms of their relationship.
Yeah, and like he would do things that are very like, enemy behavior. There were times where he would do something and try and get her to talk to someone or whatever, and like he would twist things and whatever that were like really manipulative. And I kept thinking like, is he a bad guy? Like, is he not actually on her side? Like he's just trying to support her, but then he still wanted to be with her, and there was still, yeah, it was weird. I was really confused. And I think that's probably a good point to launch into how I sort of felt in general is that you've got to, first of all, this is very American. Like it means nothing to us. This is about diplomacy between America and England, and they're talking about all these different titles and different responsibilities and jobs and whatever within the White House, blah blah blah, and none of it means anything to me, and I have no context. I feel like there's a level of you need to know a few things coming into this. Like I think being completely in the dark, knowing nothing about American politics and nothing about diplomacy between nations and or even where England and USA stand, there was a level of like, what is even happening? The whole first episode, I didn't really understand who was who, what was happening. Even the way they introduced like the president of the United States, it took me halfway through the scene to even realize who he was. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean,
Um,
if you're confused, I've got no interest in politics at all. So I was real
yeah.
confused. I was like still waiting for something to happen. I didn't mind
Mhm.
the political aspect of how she was going to keep her role because when they found out that she was getting a divorce, they needed to make her like unfireable, which was an
Yeah.
interesting turn. Like I've never actually thought about that side. And then when the husband, Hal, gets in the car and he gets a syringe like straight into the neck, I was like, oh, here we go. This is going to make more of a
Mhm.
higher tense sort of situation that he's
Mhm.
been kidnapped. What's happening here? But then he just gets on a phone call and is like, oh, how's your stomach? And then he's just released. That was so
Yeah.
confusing. Like, what is happening? It was,
Yeah. And it was all because by that point, everyone's pointing the finger at Iran. So that was the Iranian leadership or whatever pulling him aside because he's used to be someone important and being like, it wasn't us. You need to stop pointing the finger at us, otherwise there's gonna be a war.
yeah, but
But yeah, I don't know. I didn't really understand why this is interesting.
no.
I don't like yeah. It's it's not for me. Like I was on the phone to mum this morning and we're talking about what shows we've been watching and whatever. And I said to her, I think she would like this. She likes there's a show called The Good Wife
Oh,
from
yep,
years
yep,
ago.
that's all.
This reminds me very much of that in its pacing and sort of themes and stuff. A strong independent woman trying to manage her relationship as well as her high profile job and that sort of bullshit. So
Yep.
I think there are elements to like, I suppose, for the right people, but as an Australian, as someone who couldn't give a shit about the leadership and hierarchy of American politics or even English politics, it means nothing to me. And I didn't even grasp like in the first episode, there was information that went straight over my head. And it wasn't until they did like a little recap at the start of the second episode that I was like, oh, is that what happened? Like the fact that they're trying to, we find out in the first episode, which I didn't even notice, they're trying to make her the next vice president of the United States. but they're keeping it from her for some reason. And they also, um, the reason she's over here is to try and do some training for that sort of stuff. But she's in the dark about it. I don't understand why. Yeah, it was. I'm sure that for a smarter person and for someone who's more engaged with this stuff, then potentially. But for me, on the outside looking in, this was a very nothing show.
Yeah. The only part of the show that I was kind of like that was really cool was when they were having the funeral for all the soldiers that died on the ship, and the wife was yelling out to, I don't know who he was. I'm assuming he's someone quite important, and she was like saying, "You need to do something," and then he had that moment with the undertone music and stuff where he was like, "I'm gonna make sure if it was, they'll rain down hellfire." Like, I liked it. It was kind of a,
Oh right, that's the Prime Minister of England.
was it? Oh, I had no
Yeah,
idea who he was.
who they didn't like. They did point it out, but they weren't very clear. Really interestingly, the same guy, Rory Kinnear or whatever his freaking name is, Rory. He also plays a prime minister in the Black Mirror episode where he fucks a pig. That's the same actor. So
Oh, right.
in my brain, this is the same universe as the Black Mirror guy who fucked a pig.
That makes it way more interesting.
Right.
But yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't for me. It's
No.
not for us, obviously.
No. If it's not for me, then it's it's definitely, well, if it's not for you, then it's definitely not for me. This is this is no superhero or action, whatever, or film. But if you are interested in politics and you got the know-how, or you like, I don't know how interwebbing of political stuff works, then give it a go. But for me, it is like half a star. I was not interested in it. I was confused, and it was 50 minutes. It was so long. It was like sitting there just watching random things happening with no connection.
And the pacing was weird. Like they did the classic thing where right at the end of the episode, something interesting would happen that makes you want to watch the next one. Like classic Walking Dead season 2.
But season 2 was shocking. But anyway, that's not what we're
not say Walking Dead. But yeah, it's like, you give us something, give us a little bit of like, oh, that's interesting at the end of the episode, but then nothing happens for the middle chunk. Nothing that I gave a shit about. And any things that were like interesting were when they were making me ask more questions. But by the end of the episodes we watched, nothing was being answered, and I couldn't give a shit. So I'm not sure half a star is fair. I think it's still a competently made show, and there are enough rises and falls to really interest the right person. I'm still going to give it a 2, but that's, our reviews are very much our enjoyment out of it. For the right person, this could be a 4 or whatever. But yeah, like you said, your enjoyment is a half a star. My enjoyment was probably 1.5, 2 star.
Well, that's why reviews are all opinion based. Is
it poorly made? No. It's interesting.
It's well shot.
It's for the right people.
Yeah, there's lots of things going, but it's not for us.
No.
But seeing that you guys are collecting the reviews and the score, see, that was not a good one.
No, you've had better.
I've had worse.
I appreciate the effort. It's like Linus Tech Tips. If you ever watched his videos,
I don't mind him.
Segues to the sponsors.
I quite like it.
Laugh.
Yeah,
it's so half-assed, but kind of funny.
Yeah. So we do our own thing. Speaking of the collectibles, the Golden Touch. So I was expecting this to be more. I don't know what I was expecting. I think I was expecting, based off the trailer, that it was one guy's own private collection. I wasn't expecting this to be about the guy's online auction house. So it caught me off guard by a little bit. And then when I started to get used to it, I was like, oh, this will kind of be like Pawn Stars. Like I actually really like that show where people come in with really interesting items. And they tried to follow that kind of sort of format for a show. Like they would give you, here's an object. This is the guys that are going off to it, after we got like the setup of what's actually happening. So the Golden runs a online auction house, and it's like higher profile items. So then he's got all these like little offsiders or workers that go out, and they're the people that source the items. They make a deal, whether it's we need to get a certain amount of revenue before it's being able to be sold.
Mhm.
And oh man, he's unlikable.
Isn't
I
he?
I really dislike the guy. Like
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. Like, was he playing into the role, but he just comes off as really unlikable?
Well, one of the first things he says is, "I'm motivated by what do you say? Ego,
Money,
money, and something."
respect, or something or other. But
Yeah, I don't know.
even if
It's
you,
so weird because like you meant to side with him and be excited for his success, but he's a fucking douchebag. And the way he interacts with his daughter fucking sucks. And you can tell that he sucks because his daughter sucks. And there are times where he'd say nice things, and there was a moment where he was in a room with someone that he worked with, and he was like talking him up and getting, excited for them and talking about how much he liked building his people around him, and I'm like, wow, actually maybe he isn't that bad of a person, but then he would just be a knob. Yeah, sorry. Anyway,
yeah,
keep going.
I don't know if it was like an actual character. Like all of them were like, oh, okay, we need to make ourselves more interesting, and
Yeah,
then
potentially.
because I don't know, I really like the show Porn Stars because the guys are likable. Like
Yeah,
they're just a family run. Yes, the old man is like grumpy and whatnot, but
it's part of the
like
character.
it's
Yeah,
part of the character. The main dude, I can't remember his name. Then Chumley, like
yeah.
they're all
Rick
like
Harrison was the
yeah,
main guy. I
like
remember his friggin' name.
like those guys are likable, and you're like, okay, these are really interesting stuff. Where this guy was just he came across as a knob.
Yeah,
Then you've
he did.
got his main sort of seller, where I can't remember. I have no idea what his name is. So he was
The guy who was like
he
also
was
in charge, but
yeah, he was like the kind of the manager, I guess. So he was the one that with
David, I think.
the Beirut what's it called uniform, where it still had blood on it. He was the one that
Oh
was
yeah.
negotiating
No,
for that.
wasn't Babe Ruth.
Was it not
It wasn't
Beirut?
Babe Ruth.
Oh,
No, it was the first black baseballer, someone Richardson or something.
oh, that's right. Yeah, I'm not a baseball guy, so it meant
No,
nothing
and
to me.
that's probably my biggest criticism about this show is this is made for Americans. It's all about the whole first episode is about baseball and footy or like rugby, or like rugby, gridiron. Um, it's all very American collectibles, and as a person who loves collectibles, there was nothing for me in the first episode at all.
Okay, I didn't mind the gridiron stuff because I quite like the gridiron, and I go for Philadelphia Eagles. But the baseball, I couldn't care about. I was like, wow,
No.
it's pretty ridiculous of how much the guy reckons he wants to sell it. They were like,
Mm-hmm.
it's got to be 10
10
million to
mil.
be able to sell,
Mm-hmm.
and it was like double the price of any other baseball collectible or something
Yeah.
or other beforehand, which is kind of interesting that that's such a high price tag, but I didn't care.
Yep.
Then you've got he's another group of a pair of sellers, which are the black guys, which I actually found them really interesting. I like their
Yeah.
dynamic, like they were quite
Yeah.
charismatic with each other.
I
So
know.
they're at this guy's house. They're like giving us the rundown as they're traveling to the house, and they're sort of bouncing off one another. They're quite
Mm-hmm.
likable,
They
but
are.
when you get there, the guy's showing you all this like cool stuff, and then he's like, "Oh, I want to sell Beanie Babies." I
Mm-hmm.
was like, "Ah, that's kind of a interesting bait and switch," but I also
Yeah.
could not care about Beanie Babies. And then they're
No, I
like,
know.
"Here's my specialist," which is kind of running the same as I got a guy for that, the porn star.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Literally.
which was literally the same copy, but they had a PhD in Beanie Babies. Like, was that?
PhD in antiques and collectibles,
Yeah,
something rather. Yeah.
but that's the way they sold it. But
They did.
again, wouldn't you, with such a high profile stuff coming in, and you're showing like Jordans, you're showing all these different collectibles that are like, well, I guess, kind of pop culture in the
Mm-hmm.
trailers. but then
Mhm.
you're leading in with baseball gridiron beanie babies. Like,
Yeah,
why aren't you
seven
showing?
grand worth of. Yeah, we saw his house. He has like millions of dollars worth of signed balls from American football to baseball and all sorts of random shit. And then he's selling. They price it of like 6 to 7 grand worth of Beanie Babies.
Yeah,
It's like, why did I even watch that?
like why aren't you showing us the pop culture stuff? Like that's going to hook people
Yeah.
in more. Like
Yep.
episode 1 is like nothing, and it went for a long time. I was like,
Agreed.
this is really long. Second
Yeah,
episode was
I thought I was partway through second episode when I had finished. Like I was watching the first one point. I was like, am I on the second one yet? Halfway through the first one, and it was still going. Yeah, I
yeah.
agree.
The second episode was more interesting, but again, it was too long. So the Messi Guernsey, kind of cool.
Yeah.
Like we both like soccer or football based on where
Yep.
you are in the world.
And I can connect with that more.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that was really cool. Like the with all these different Guernseys and stuff. It was
Hmm.
weird seeing like current players where he's like investing in Vinny Jr. plays for Real Madrid. I was like,
Yeah.
okay, like yeah, he's actually a really good player, but it's
Hmm.
like okay, I want to see like your classic stuff that you're trying to sell,
Yep.
like your Messi Guernsey, which is the big showdown with Real Madrid when he scored the
Hmm.
winner. Like very cool. That's a moment of history. Then I'm interested to
Definitely.
see what that goes for. But they didn't really pump it up that much. It was weird. It was like you've got this really cool item, which is the most played sport in the world, and you're
Yeah,
not.
it was the highest selling modern sports memorabilia, highest selling modern football memorabilia,
Yeah, like you've
and they
got
sort of just
this.
glanced over it.
Yeah, it's so weird in what they're
Mm.
doing. But
And they focused so heavily on this, which was cool too. But they also went and got like a original what do they call it, Apple One, which
yeah,
was sick. Like that's up my alley when they finally start talking about pop culture stuff and like collectible technology and Apple. I'm a big Apple guy, but yeah, when they're finally bringing in things that I can connect with, I was a bit more interested. But even then, no.
nah.
I
Like
want to see all like
I've got
Marvel stuff and Pokemon stuff and
yeah, like I've got the trailer playing now, and even the trailer they had Logan Paul, they had Mike Tyson. Like, why
right.
aren't you leading in with your big names to hook people in?
Yes,
Like, if you're in that first episode, if we weren't doing this for the podcast, I'd be like, no,
yes,
I'm not watching this. Like, why aren't you hooking
100%.
people in at the start? Like, if you're showing
Hmm.
those big names, show at
Hmm.
least one in the first episode. Like, get excited about it. Show
Yeah,
like Mike Tyson is probably the most interesting man I've ever sort of experienced. Have him
yeah,
first, or have Logan Paul when he's like collection of Pokemon cards, like or whatever.
yeah.
Doesn't matter. Like you just got to have that hook, and
Hmm.
I don't know, be likable.
Be like, yeah. I
Don't
don't, I
be a
don't
knob.
disagree. Even when he goes and like hangs out with Drake and they do like a live pack opening and stuff. Um, I never know what to believe is real. Like to pull a $60,000, whatever it was, several hundred thousand, I forget what it was, but to pull some really rare, expensive card out of a random pack seems almost too good to be true. Like at
Yeah,
that exact time, the pack that he gave him. Yeah, I don't know. I this feels really fabricated, and maybe it is because he's so unlikable that I don't believe anything's genuine in this whole show.
yeah. I'd just imagine having that much money where you can just buy whatever the price was, something ridiculous for this box opening of random cards or buy
Yeah,
what were they NBA cards. Like
yeah. Looking for some,
imagine just having that
yeah,
disposable income to be like,
of course,
yeah, this means nothing. It's
yeah.
nuts.
I also laughed at when they do their sales, their auction sales, and they do all their publicity website videos and interviews and stuff. Woman's like, this is a part of memorabilia history, and it's gonna sell for 10 million. Come on down and place your bids. Like,
Yeah.
do you think the average person who's watching this has any hope on buying anything on your website?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
guess they're showing the other side though, like which is fine. Like the porn stars is like people bringing in their like you might have that in your house kind of random
hmm
stuff. Where this is
hmm
that high end,
yeah, but
which
it needs to
is
be a balance. I
yeah.
think it needs to be balanced. Like if the
Oh,
average Joe is watching this and we're seeing items sell for tens of millions or hundreds of thousands of dollars, like sure, it's interesting, but I feel like it'd be more interesting if we're talking about stuff that's achievable. And it's like, this thing's now selling for this much, and we estimate it's gonna sell for this much in 10 years' time, and not trying to educate us, but like make it actually a bit more grounded, I suppose. Which I guess the
uh,
show isn't, but
I'm
personally.
okay if that is their niche. Their niche is like those high end items. Like you've got all those real estate shows. Like my wife watches Selling Sunset or whatever, where they sell the mansions. So they're like the real estate agents that are selling those crazy
Right.
mansions and stuff. Like I'm okay to
hmm
see people buy those that next level of like life where it's just ridiculous amounts of money where they can walk into this
Right.
random mansion and be like,
Not me.
yep, I'll take it. Like it's interesting to see that those people exist that they can just walk into a place and like, oh yeah, no, this place isn't for me. Yeah, this one is. Let's sign it. And it's like, I don't know, 10, $20 million where they don't bat an
Right.
eyelid. It's nuts.
Like Cribs. Did you ever watch Cribs back in the day on
Yeah,
TV?
like that sort of stuff. Like I'm okay to see those higher
Right. Whereas I
profile
couldn't give a
people.
shit. If it's out of my realm possibility, I couldn't give a shit about the other world, the people who have the money to buy this stuff. I don't care about them.
Oh, I don't sit there and watch like multiple episodes, but it's interesting to see that there are those people that
What
can kind of
exists?
do that. Yeah. Like
Yeah.
it's interesting to see. Like I also am interested to see stuff in like, I don't know, where the poverty line is and seeing how people live in like
hmm
the craziness of like India and stuff where they're all
Yeah.
like
Yeah. Yeah.
packed in those like little shacks and stuff. Like I like
hmm
to see all sorts of different stuff, even like I know documentaries on different areas and like Cambodia and stuff. Like it's
Of course.
I'm
Yeah.
interested
It's
to
different
see,
cultures.
yeah, just that
hmm
whole different thing. But yeah,
Yeah.
this show,
I just feel like a show about collectibles. There needs to be a bit of both. Like
yeah.
talk
Mm.
about Pokemon cards, talk about the different sets, talk about what's don't you talk about the upper echelon, there's one of one card that's super rare and elusive. Talk about the things that we can collect. And like, I think these would be interesting if it's like these are the ridiculous cards, but if you're ever interested in collecting cards, then these ones are pretty good. Like, I feel like it would have been interesting if there was a bit of learning happening. But maybe
Yeah,
that's what I wanted out of it.
even more variety. Like they could have
Yep.
went. This episode's all sports collectibles. This one's all technology. This one's all like pop culture.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah. Sure.
you need a better spread. It needs to
Yep.
be It needs to be something because whatever it is, whether it's him being unlikable or the show being too focused on one or two items,
hmm
there's not enough in there to keep me interested. Like I was
hmm
ready to play on my phone within the first 5, 10 minutes.
Definitely. Yeah.
It's
I agree.
just
It wasn't interestingly presented. Like you said, there should have been maybe have like one, maybe two high profile items in an episode where we follow that, the purchase and then the sale and doesn't make enough and doesn't make minimum bets and blah blah blah. Not bets, bids. But yeah, it should have just been littered with a bunch of smaller stuff in between. Because like
yeah,
at least if you want to keep making the comparison between this and Pawn Stars, at least Pawn Stars has a bunch of little stuff and there's like, the thrill of is it real, isn't it? Sort of finding out, even though that's all bullshit because it's all fabricated, but at least there's some will they, won't they, to it.
yeah,
Whereas with this, it was like there's no tension, there's nothing interesting. I couldn't the item that they're trying to sell for 10 million and they couldn't get the guy to sell it for any less, even though it made 7.2 million. I couldn't give a shit. Like these are rich assholes, rich white assholes, fighting over a few $1 million. Like it's so far out of what I care about that I couldn't give a shit about more of this show. And that's something for someone who loves collectibles. And I used to watch a lot of Porn Stars and all those like what they call like the one where they will like buy the storage lockers, storage wars.
Yeah,
They buy the storage lockers and then go through it and sell stuff and get it praised. And I found that
storage
way
would.
more interesting than
Yeah, but
storage wars. Yeah.
it was like problem with that was like every locker they bought, they always made like they always found some crazy items. It's
Yeah,
like
which was all
surely there's.
fabricated as well.
I was like, surely there's hit and miss. Like I feel like
Yes.
you couldn't be that lucky every single time.
Yeah. It makes people like us watch it and go, "Oh, I'm going to go buy some storage lockers and make
Yeah.
thousands," but it's just not how it works.
I reckon I even watched the other porn stars, the spin-off one where it was like in Detroit. It was
Oh,
like
right.
like in
Yes.
in a in a different state and neighborhood, which the guy was he was a bit rougher and came across as a bit more
Was
arrogant and
that
aggressive.
hardcore porn?
I think
Yes,
it
yes.
was. Yeah.
Detroit's largest pawn shop. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was interesting because it was like the craziest, wildest people. I watched that. I couldn't give a shit about the stuff that they bought and sold. I couldn't name a single item from memory, but that was like the most wild people
Yeah.
in the world.
Speaking about wild, I probably should have done it in movie news, but Jerry Springer died.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Just jogged
It's
my
an
memory then.
institution.
Yeah.
Jerry Springer. Wow.
Yesterday or the day before. So
Oh,
yeah.
I was pretty upset when Barry Humphries died during the week as well.
Oh,
They
yeah.
made an average. I love Barry Humphries. No shit, April 27th, he died.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
So it's a bit sad.
Yeah. I watched a lot of Springer growing up. My
Hmm.
sister loved it, so I was sort of forced to watch it.
Yeah, it used to be on a 12 o'clock. So during school holidays, I used to watch Jerry Springer, and then Ripley's Believe It or Not used to be on at 1.
Yeah, Ripley was so sick.
Yeah.
I
So
loved on Jerry Springer that they were called like the worst show on television, and then they added that to the advertising. Like between the ad breaks, they used to have the little certificate come up, the worst show on television.
yeah,
Like they just loved it.
yeah, that was so good. But anyway, this collectible show is
Average.
it's not really worth your time. Go watch
No.
the other shows that we've said. Even Jerry Springer is better than this one. So
Yeah, a bit
go
more
watch
exciting at least.
go watch reruns of that. What would you give this one?
Uh, yeah, I don't know. Like there's probably enough bits and pieces here and there that you could probably throw it on the background, just have it on while you're doing something else. But it's not interesting and it's not paced well. I don't know, like a 2 again, 1.5 again. It's okay, but it's
Yeah.
not enough to recommend to people.
No, it's a 2 for me. Like it's shot
Mm,
well. It's got all your standard sort of tropes that are in this kind of niche. Like it's cut. It's just the pacing of the items. They need to do better with sort of hooking you in and have more of a variety
yeah,
of different things. But yeah, I would say avoid it unless you're interested in a knob of a bloke
yeah.
selling high
And if you're
profile
American,
items.
you're American, you're gonna love it. A lot of the guest stars are like American celebrities. Peyton Manning makes an appearance on like a phone call, who's like an American,
Yeah.
like an all-star fucking. Yeah, if you're American, you're listening to this. First of all, thank you, but
Mm.
also this is probably for you more than it is for us. And the
Yeah.
editing, like they went so intense with the music to make it feel real fucking badass, and what he's doing is like super important. There's all these moments at first, especially in the first episode, maybe it was more noticeable because I just started watching it, but like there's all these parts where there was, him getting on a plane or him walking into his office and have this like super intense fucking Marvel music in the background. It's like, okay, let's just calm down a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
It
let's move.
reminded me if Kevin Spacey and Sheldon had a baby, that's who this guy is. Just
Okay. Yeah.
awkward and rude and weird looking.
Fair enough. Let's move on to something more
Let's.
interesting, which is
Yeah,
English Heavenly Delusion or Tengoku Daimakyou. Akio? I don't know how to pronounce that.
I'd say Tengoku-Daimakyou.
Daimakyou. Okay. Yeah,
I'd say.
that's how you say
I
it.
don't know.
where I broke my rule with this and I watched all 4 episodes that are currently out.
You did? Yeah, it's fair.
Yeah. So
Mhm.
in the outside world, 15 years have passed since an unprecedented disaster that completely destroyed modern civilization. A group of children live in a faculty isolated from the outside world. One day, one of them, a girl named Tokyo, how do I say that? Tokyo.
Yes, yeah, Tokyo.
Tokyo.
Hokkaido, I don't know.
Yeah, I know. Receives a message that says, "Do you want to go outside?" Oh God, not another one. Mini Himi I don't know. Do the names for me.
Uh,
Mini
Mimihime?
Mini Mini
Mimihime? I don't know. I'm
Minihime.
not.
Another girl who lives in the same facility has a prediction, and I've just clicked on something and tells the upset Chiokio that 2 people will come from the outside to save her, one of whom has her same face. Oh, all right, I'm not. Yeah, you get the idea.
You made that. You made it sound more confusing than it even is.
Yeah. So I've got rid of the tab now.
Fair.
But essentially, this is following 2 people, and they are exploring the outside world, which has been pretty much desolated by something which we don't know what. There are these monsters that roam around, and they're called man eaters. And each of
Mhm.
these monsters are very spooky looking, but they're kind of cool. They all have this one eye. So,
Yeah.
which is all tying into something big, grand scheme kind of thing. But it is always watching, and you won't see it coming. Got it. Got it.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
Totally.
So these monsters, they have one eye. They're
Good.
they're creepy looking, but
Yeah.
we are focused mainly on our 2 characters, which there
Mhm.
is a bit of a plot twist, which gets revealed, I think, in episode 3. It is
3. Yeah.
3, which
Mhm.
I was not expecting this.
Yeah.
The pacing of this show is really good. Like, I thought there is every scene gives me answers, but it's also giving me more questions of where it's going. I feel like you'll probably have a slightly different take on it, but as these 2 are going, you can see that they've formed quite a bond due to them having to rely on each other and having
Yep.
sort of a bit of a lookout kind of bond that they
Yep.
have to rely on each other. They have a gun, which is some laser beam, which we don't really know the origins of this gun.
No,
But
but it uses batteries.
yeah, and I like
Get
that
like
it's
4 shots out of a battery.
and they're not always reliable. I don't mind that it's
Mhm.
not reliable. And
Yeah,
then
adds a bit of tension, but it's kind of cheap.
yeah. But then we also have I forget his name. Do you have the character list? So not the one with the
Maru.
gun. Maru
Maru,
has
yep.
he has a power where he's got the Maru touch where he's able to go touch something and go in and destroy it, a kind of like a parasite. Like, he's able to manipulate and
Yeah.
control
Reminding me of some of
whatever
the people in like Full Metal, how they can like deconstruct human with when they have the Philosopher's Stone.
yeah,
They can like touch stuff and deconstruct it.
that's probably a good call. Yeah, so he's able to go in and destroy whatever he touches. There is a bit of a love interest where I won't go into spoiler realm, but he is kind of in love with his offsider, which
Mhm.
is what's the name on this
Kir-
one?
Kiruko.
Kiriko, however you say
Yeah,
it.
Kiruko. Yep,
Yeah.
yep.
So he's pretty much in love with his offsider.
Mm.
They're off exploring
She's
the
his
world.
yeah, she's his minder. Like this is set as Ryan's already said, like it's set amongst a ruined Japan, like it's the world has collapsed.
Yeah.
Um and she does like odd job bits and pieces, and she gets given a job to more or less take this boy Maru to a place called Heaven.
Yeah.
So yeah, she's like his his minder, she is the Pedro Pascal in the story, I suppose. This had to me had a lot of connections with The Last of Us. Like it's a destroyed world. There's two characters trying to get from A to B to a place called Heaven. Like there's a lot of parallels with Last of Us for sure.
Yeah, there's also a scene where they're actually paddling on like this makeshift raft, which reminded me very much of a Last of Us scene.
Mm, yep.
But I think
Yeah,
that
definitely was noticing a lot of parallels for sure.
yeah, I think it definitely stands out on its own. So we get a number of cuts away to this facility, and as it sort of, it's interesting the facility. So they seem to be controlled or always, well, not like I guess they're being monitored, very sort of like Truman Show esque, but they know that these robots are around, always monitoring them. They
Yeah.
have interactions with this old lady in a wheelchair, which I forget her name, but they kind of just refer to her as, I guess, what do they refer to her as? I forget exactly
Yeah, I don't
what it
recall
is,
that.
but she's like, I don't know, the one that they report to, and she's in charge. Where there's all different. There's some cutaway scenes of like a message being sent to one of the other students or young person in the facility of like a shower picture
Hmm.
where she doesn't actually know that she sent it when they have that their interaction. There's right at the end of one of them, they escape through a vent and they're like, this is what babies look like. And they have the one eye. So it's leading to a big overall conspiracy that's coming where I'm
Yeah,
not,
there's definitely something bigger happening. Hmm.
yeah. So there's that really big overarching mystery that's happening. You've got the facility where obviously these people know that someone's coming from the outside that looks exactly like them to come and save
Hmm.
them from the facility. And then you've got the dynamic duo who are wandering around a post-apocalyptic Japan where that was, I quite liked when they're out in the post-apocalyptic area.
Yeah,
Like there's lots
and they're
happening.
like they're races and stuff,
Yeah.
and
And
they
like,
have like the
oh, the
you go
go-kart
on.
races.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I like seeing like I'm a big fan of anything post-apocalyptic, and I love seeing the people's different takes on how civilization continues, and things like gambling and celebrity status and whatever still continues, but it's in the form of this like death race go-kart racing thing that they do. Yeah.
Yeah. I then you've got the monsters. So you've got the man eaters.
Hmm.
I find that I like the designs are quite interesting. I don't
Yeah.
like how we've seen three. We've seen
Hmm.
three of those monsters where it's I think it'll be okay if you don't show us a man eater every episode. Like
Yeah, I
it
agree.
felt like they had to overcome a man eater every episode. I know one
Yep.
was a flashback, but it's I think hopefully moving forward we're not going to get a man eater every
I
episode.
agree. Yeah, because if this becomes another monster of the week, you might as well go watch Chainsaw Man. I
Yeah.
think that's probably better in a lot of ways, but not always.
Yeah, like there's so many things that you can sort of feed us rather than here's a monster that they have to overcome. Like
Yeah.
you can flesh out the mystery, you can flesh out the facility, you can flesh out just the post-apocalyptic area without
Yeah, or just
having to
time with characters. Yeah, I agree.
have to throw a monster in there.
Hmm.
But I found it really intriguing. Like I want the duo to be successful and see where they lead to. I found
Hmm.
the reveal, so I don't really want to spoil the Kiro Kiroko's sort of
Yeah.
whole segment because I think that's worth the shock factor of finding out what's happening there.
Yeah, and if you reveal that now, that it makes because the entire episode 3 is finding that out. It's all the whole thing is a flashback and piecing together her little backstory. So if you reveal that now, then you've more or less wasted an episode.
Yeah. So I think it's worth experiencing that for yourself.
Hmm.
And I also really enjoyed episode 4. So I am very, very
Okay.
keen to see episode 5, which apparently came out yesterday. So after this, I feel like I will be watching that.
Yeah.
What's your take on this show?
Yeah. Um, I found it okay. Like as I said, it sort of reminded me of other things that are better. And I'm watching this. I got to admit, the second episode, I may have fallen asleep in place. So I watched it like after work one day. I was kind of tired, and I was like, "Yeah, I'll watch this," but I maybe regret it. But I didn't give it enough energy, especially episode two. But I found episode three was enough to make me interested again, especially with a little like character twist. It's I don't know. It's hard for me to judge anime because, like I said last time, I'm not massive into a lot of anime, and I think what I differentiate between good and bad um, is not necessarily fair. But I found this okay. Like, will I probably keep watching it? I'm not sure. I've still got to go watch other stuff first, and I think I'd probably rather watch Hell's Paradise before I watch this or the rest of this. But it was interesting, and they've done some new things. I like the Kuriko, yeah, Kuruko. I liked her little story arc and her little twist, and that was enough to go, oh, okay, this is a bit different than other things we've been presented with. And also, because of that twist in episode three, it makes us ask a lot of questions about the way the man eaters work, and if there is some bigger, more grander story happening in the background, then this will lead somewhere. Like that sort of Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood as well. Like it starts very individualized, and you sort of learn about little individual characters, and then it turns into this huge, big, grand plot that involves like the entire civilization, more or less. So I think this has potential, but right now it's hard for me to recommend because I didn't love it. I think, and if someone said, "Is this good?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's good," but I'd probably suggest Hell's Paradise and Chainsaw Man before this, and Last of Us because there's a lot of similarities.
Okay.
But it's okay. Like I didn't hate it. Um, I don't know. I'm somewhere between like a 2.5 and a 3.5. It was good, but it's hard for me because I'm not a big anime guy. I'd be curious to know what someone who's a big weeb, what they think of this.
Yeah. I loved it. I thought it was great. Like I was hooked. Normally I can be able to do a couple of things at the same time, but this was like, nah, I'm stopping what I'm doing. And I just got
Sure.
distracted and I was like, all right, cool. This is real interesting.
Yeah, yeah.
I was hooked. So for me, it's like at the moment for 3 episodes, it's definitely probably a 4.5. Like
Okay.
I was real hooked into it. I was like, all right, give
Hmm.
me more. And I was annoyed that there was only 4. I was like, all right, I want another episode right now.
Yeah, that's fair.
So
Yeah,
yeah,
and I think your opinion is more valid of this. Like I've said, it's hard for me to judge anime. So I think if you're into anime, I'd take Ryman's review more than I'd take mine.
yeah, I like anime. It's good.
Yeah.
But yeah, that is our weekly 3. We've got a big 3 for you next week. We've got
I'm excited.
The Mother is returning. I'm very excited for this one. I tried to get my wife excited for it and
Mm,
come to the movies with me, but she was
no.
like, "Show me the trailer." It was like high impact gore, and she was like, "Nope."
Stay home with
Uh,
the kids.
yeah, I was like, "Well, I'm seeing it." So, Evil
Hmm.
Dead Rise. I am so excited to watch that. We've got Love and Death, which is on binge here in Australia, which has got
Yep.
the um, Elizabeth Olsen.
Yeah,
The
who's Wanda, right?
Yep. Also
Yep.
the sister of Kate and Ashley Olsen.
Oh, is that right?
Mm-hmm. Did you know that?
Did not know that. No,
Yeah,
I did
right.
not.
Yeah. Think older
It's a really
sister.
good cast. Jesse Plemons impresses me so much. He's the accompanying main actor. It's like there's a female lead and a male lead. He's the male lead.
Okay.
Um, he's great. He's in a lot of good stuff, and he's always been impressive. So
Yeah.
I'll admit, I already watched this. And similar to you with Tengoku, I watched the first three, and I was upset there wasn't more.
All right. And then we've got Apple TV's newest one, which is Chris Evans and Anna. I can't remember her name, but if there was ever going to be a female James Bond, I would want her to be the female James Bond. She impressed me heaps in any of the action films that I've seen her in. It is Ghosted, so we'll see what that's about.
Anna
Which,
Diarmas.
yeah, like if there was going to be a female lead for James Bond, which they have spoken about, I would want it to be her.
Okay.
Mm.
I've only watched her in Blade Runner. I don't know her in much else.
Okay. Yeah, I think she was also in The Grey Man, which was Ryan Gosling's like Netflix action film.
Okay. Oh, and
But
obviously Blonde, but that's very different.
yeah, but anyway, that is it for today's episode. We hope you enjoyed
Oh
it.
yeah.
I'm
Hmm.
live on Twitch if you ever want to come in on Tuesdays and Thursdays, 7:45 Australian Central Standard Time. So come in, we'll have a good time there. Otherwise, obviously, you can catch us on Spotify and also YouTube as well. So we've got things
Heck
coming.
yeah.
If you want to look fresh and some merch as well, you can get that. It's linked to the YouTube channel. So they ship from a number of different countries, I think 4 different countries. So it is made to
Yep.
order whenever you place your order. We'll be showing off some fresh
I've got
stuff
an
soon.
I've got an order coming in the mail right now. Very excited.
Ooh, yeah. And then obviously we do ask you, you can share with your friends. And if you're watching on
Tell your friends.
YouTube, hit that thumbs up, put a comment in there, and you know what to do. Just tell them all. Tell them all.
Tell your friends.
We'll see you next week.
You
Bye.
love yous.